Hi, my name's Deborah. I'm doing this video as part of a series, My EMF Story, or When Your Home Becomes Your Enemy. So this part is about the major issues of how my situation has been dealt with. So this is by the housing organisations involved. So the aim of this video is to point out the questionable actions taken by them. So it's obviously my view, but my views are backed by information from communicating to professionals, often electricians, in person or outside researched information. So, and this information is from professionals. I've also consulted two EMF specialists, so when I'm making statements about EMF or anything else, it's actually from this point of view. So the points I've raised are not in any particular order, that's actually too difficult. I aim to give facts and try to reserve my own comments, so I won't give the names of the organisations involved. So it is my housing association and my council. So I may refer to both as HOs. I'll also try to keep my own reactions to events minimal, but I do need to warn viewers that if I do appear to show inappropriate emotions, it's because I've had to distance myself from the situation emotionally, because my more natural negative emotions will take over the normal reactions to some of the action, well, what's gone on, basically. So I have to remind people I'm still actually living in this flat which has EMF issues. This situation's been going on for 10 months now. So I hope you can understand that. So I will begin with the EMF surveys, so electromagnetic frequency surveys. I did persuade the council to do this one survey, the first survey I'll refer to, and this was done when I kept records from the symptoms that I had, the physical symptoms, so the heavy head, heart palpitations, body vibrations, that sort of thing, and I linked them to actual readings that I got from using an EMF meter. So from that information, I think it was probably about maybe 9 days in all, so I gave them that information, and that made them decide to do the EMF survey. So I think if they hadn't have been convinced that there was something going on here, they would not have done this. For example, if I had said that I was smelling gas, I had headache and nausea, etc. from that, and I said, you need to come and check my gas, they could refuse because I don't have gas in my flat, it's all electricity. So the fact that they did come is actually important. So that first survey had many issues, and there were so many issues. So I'll just mention two. So the main issue was that the surveyor only took readings of 2 of the 3 electric fields. So she did electromagnetic field and radio frequency. She completely missed out electric field. So at that time I didn't know about that actually, and I did communicate that to the council. So that was one of the issues. I do apologise, it's my computer going off, affecting the lighting. So the second major issue was that she did not take any readings with my flat's electricity being turned off. So if she had done that, she would have had readings from, well, to know that the EMF wasn't being caused by the electrical system of my own flat. So there are actually two major issues. So for me, my opinion, it points to a decision being made before the survey was done as to the outcome. So I'll actually talk more about that survey in a separate video. There are so many issues. So the other point with the survey, or this survey, was that I didn't know this, but both the housing organisations worked together to arrange that survey, but they didn't tell me that. I'd just been talking to the council and asked them to do it because I thought the EMF was coming in from outside, so I thought it was their responsibility. If they had told me, I would have thought that was actually good because they were working together to help me. Now, anyway, make up your own mind as to why they didn't tell me. So both of the housing organisations ignored the second positive EMF survey. I should say that that first survey was negative, surprisingly. So the second survey I had done myself, I paid for. Actually, was positive. It identified elevated levels, particularly of electric field. So the housing organisations, that's the council and housing association, they both ignored it. And then when I pushed them to tell me why they were not recognising it, they gave their reasons as the company I used had no qualifications, they had no accreditation, they had not had a visible track record, and the company had given inadequate information. I think that's on EMF levels. That's about if it relates to the UK's guidance levels. So all of these things that they said was actually a bit silly. So EMF surveys is quite a new field, so there's no legal requirements for people who do the surveys to have qualifications. As far as I know, there's not any legal accreditation, so you know, that is actually silly. Both of them are silly reasons. If they wanted a track record, they could have approached a company who could have given them references. I doubt they did that. And the information about EMF levels was actually given with the report, which I actually emailed to them, so they had that information. So they also said they were reporting that company to trading standards, and basically after they did that, I didn't hear anything back from them as to what had actually happened, so I can only assume that none of those reasons were valid. So the final thing about the EMF surveys, which is actually quite interesting. So both of the housing organisations insist that only one survey, and of course that's a negative survey, can be correct. So it's quite interesting because I've taken hundreds, if not thousands, of readings in my flat, and if you have one survey at one time, that could prove positive. If you take another survey another time, it could prove negative. So it's because the electrical levels fluctuate. So when I said this to them, they refused to accept it. They ignored it, of course. So moving on to investigations that were done, and of course it was the EMF survey that was done, and the Housing Association, they actually offered to do what is called an EICR test. Not sure what that stands for actually, but that was on my flat's electrical system. So they did it, and of course it didn't pick up any issues. I later found out that EICR tests just do not pick up on EMF issues. I spoke to I think about 3 electricians, professional electricians, about that. Actually, not many electricians know about it, but from the people who do, they said that they don't pick it up. And also, it's actually written very clearly in a lot of research, a lot of videos that are investigating EMF issues. So I'm not sure why both housing organisations say that there are no EMF issues. When all they've done is an EICR test, and of course they're trying to stick to their survey, which was questionable. So the next point is the Housing Association's investigation of a bathroom light. So that particular light has very high levels of EMF, probably the highest in the flat. When the EICR test was being done, I had noticed that there was that fittings wire behind the light within the wall. So the actual wires that the light uses are external. Because if that wire was live, it actually communicates with the external wires, and that's a cause of EMF. So I asked for that to be investigated. So the Housing Association did do that. When the electrician came, he took a photo of the outside of it. He didn't take the light off to see the wire behind it, but he took a photo of the fixture. He then sent that photo back to the Housing Association, and the head engineer then emailed me to say, using that photo, that the wire behind it was dead. Okay, I won't comment any further on that, apart from to say that I did actually pay for an electrician to test that wire. It took him about 5 minutes, and it was live. So another point is that 2 people from each housing association actually put in writing that EMF has nothing to do with wiring. So they actually put it in writing, which is very troubling, because there's tons of articles and research, and it's actually common sense to know that wiring is one of the main sources of EMF in households. So yeah, I won't comment. I've also told the housing organisations about the building's history of wiring issues. So we have about a 13-year history of malfunctioning lights in our hallway and communal areas. It took them about 13 years to actually fix it correctly. And then our garage lights, that has a 15-year history. So, and that's still going on, so it's still not working. Well, it works, and then it doesn't work, and then it works, and then, anyway. So, apparently, the building's electrics has passed the EICR test. Yet this issue still continues. So I guess you can make up your own mind as to how EICR tests are so effective or not. I should also add here that I've spent a long time researching and talking to people, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of what actually causes the EMF issues within my flat in particular, and of course it has to be due to the wiring issues, but there are particular issues within my flat, I believe. Of course it has to be confirmed with investigations, which both the council and housing association are refusing to do. Okay, so going on, so the housing association, they forced me to go through their 35-day complaints process in order for me to force them to do the investigations. So this is bearing in mind that it's electrical issue, and it could, well, it is a health and safety issue. Obviously it's affecting my health and my safety. So they refused to do this. Now the main issue here is they can't know whether it's actually a health or safety issue or not unless they do proper investigations. Okay, so during the first stage of that complaints process, they ignored completely the new positive survey and also medical information I submitted. So that was on my heart palpitations, which I believe showed that only occurred inside my flat. And during the second stage of the complaints process, the decision to not uphold my complaint was made just 3 days from the beginning. So I actually found out that information from a subject access request. So basically that's getting all the information that people in the HA have said about you or you communicated to them. So this decision was made very clearly before the bathroom light investigation was actually started. So that person had made up his mind before this investigation, which actually could and would have shown a cause of EMF if it had been done properly and not from a photo. So anyway, that's the housing association's actions. Now onto the council's actions. So it's a bit, anyway, let me just read it. So from the beginning of the case, I guess because I thought it was the council's responsibility, I did ask to be rehoused, and I was asked to submit the medical information that I had and my EMF reading, so I submitted that, and then I thought naively that would be enough to rehouse me. Anyway, the person who requested it did not contact me, and I I emailed him a number of times, called and texted. So eventually, probably I think about 4 days later, he, because this case is urgent, 4 days, yeah, so he called me at home at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, and he spent 1 hour telling me all the reasons why he couldn't help me. Yeah, that was interesting. Actually, I should say before that, after I contacted him numerous times, he actually texted me the telephone number of the council's rehousing unit. So I thought, great, I'm going to be rehoused, you know. Unfortunately, when I phoned them, they didn't know anything about it. They didn't know about EMF. The council person, hadn't told them anything about it. So basically, they couldn't help me. So I'm not sure why the council person did that. He should know. He should have known that they couldn't help me. Anyway, so we could say that was one sort of offer from the council to be rehoused. So I did have another offer. This is during the end of last year, this was probably about the 9th month of beginning this issue. So this second council person offered to rehouse me. So I actually contacted her, just asking for advice. She knows me. She's worked with tenants in my building for a number of years, and we'd gotten on. And although she wasn't dealing with the case, I thought she may be able to give me some good advice. Instead, she offered to rehouse me, which I was very surprised about, and pleased, obviously. So she asked for me to provide a medical letter and also to sign on the council's housing list. And then she said she was going to contact the housing association to swap tenancies. So if the council rehoused me, then the housing association would rehouse one of their people on their list. Anyway, after that happened, and after I submitted my medical information, I didn't hear from her. And I still haven't heard from her. So we're talking about more than a month, coming up to 2 months now. Hasn't given me any reason, completely ghosting me. Okay, so on to the council's environmental health. I was advised that I needed to deal with them in order to be rehoused, and I asked them to investigate the bathroom light. That was all I asked for. So when I did that, instead I got numerous emails insisting that homes do not have EMF issues, and that the council does not do EMF surveys. So I had to say I had not asked for an EMF survey to be done, for one, and I also said, by the way, do you know the council did do an EMF survey on my flat? So they then said that homes don't come under the government guidance for EMF, and they actually do. So it took me a long time to find that information, but they do. And finally, that person said that my levels were not high enough, which is true enough. Now, in the subject access request email that I saw he had written to my MP who was involved in this. He said that I had changed my complaint from EMF to wiring issues, as if one had nothing to do with the other. So that was interesting. It's important to say that the Environmental Health's only action on my behalf was to ask the Housing Association if my flat and building had passed the EICR test. And so this is despite me telling him at the beginning, this is not a valid test to pick up on EMF issues. Anyway, yeah, we do think of the Christine Keeler quote. What is it? They would say that, wouldn't they? Yep. Anyway, so finally on the council's points, I have asked 3 different people, I think, 3 times, for the policy and procedure on the council's intervention when landlords do not do health and safety investigations. All 3 times I've been ignored. And the environmental health person insists it's not in the council's remit to investigate housing associations or to rehouse those tenants. I've actually been told by a number of organisations that support tenants that it is. This includes Shelter, Citizens Advice, and also the Housing Ombudsman. I've also been told this by 2 of those council people. So I'm not sure why he says that. Regarding a housing association, one person there did actually offer to deal with my problem, I'm assuming by rehousing. He said he would refer me to their rehousing department. And this was despite my the first stage of the complaints process failing. So he was a person who did that, or looked into it, investigated whatever he did anyway. So I found that out from the SAR. He had emailed a colleague requesting that I be sent rehousing form on health grounds. So I did not receive that. Okay, so coming up to the end now. Oh gosh, this is going on. So, okay, going to finish soon. Just another point. Both of the housing associations have ignored my MP. I've asked her to intervene and to request that I be rehoused about 4 times now, and they've totally ignored her. Okay. Housing Association said to the MP in writing that they would do EMF surveys on other flats. Unfortunately, no other tenants have been informed about this, and to date, we're talking about at least 6 months later, this has not been done. So I have got a petition signed by 25 of the 30 tenants here asking for this to be done, as well as the wiring investigations. So this is being ignored, although I must say I just submitted that maybe 3 weeks ago. Still no comment, no reaction, nothing. And I should also say, throughout all the correspondence that I've been having, and we're talking about 3 years, so since the very beginning of this issue, I mentioned 2 incidents of very high EMF, and this was much worse than other incidents. This time my body visibly shook, and my heart raced, and actually I just felt so scared I had to run to get out. During normal occurrences, it's uncomfortable, and certainly after 10 minutes, I think, okay, it's probably better to get out. But these were totally different, very scary. When I mention those incidents, both the council and the housing association totally ignore it. No comments at all. Now, when I requested the SAR, I expected to get some information about that, going back 3 years, because I definitely included that in emails. And of course, that information was totally missing. Luckily, I am awful at clearing out my email, so I did have those emails. So anyway, right, that's the end of this. Sorry it's gone on so long. I think I've done very well. I haven't laughed too much. Yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Okay, bye.